Good morning.
Hey, good morning.
How's your week been?
Pretty good. Can you hear me okay?
You're a little low.
Okay. I will try to turn it up. Can you hear me now?
Not that great, Wayne.
Oh, really?
This is Felicia. I can hear him really well.
You can? Okay.
Yes.
Must be my volume.
Okay. Good deal.
There you
Good
are.
deal.
Now I got you.
All right. Hey, Janet, did you get the information I just sent by email? It was a announcement that the Robert J. Dole VA is doing a vaccine drive for veterans tomorrow, and they're hoping to get 1,500 veterans, and there's no age, limit, that kind of thing. So, wanted to get that to you.
Okay. Yep, got it.
Okay, good deal.
We've had some calls on this. People who are veterans, but they aren't enrolled in the VA healthcare, and they're mad then. It's like, well, I'm a veteran, why can't I get it? You can, just not there.
Right. Well, they're doing this one tomorrow. Like I said, 1,500 vaccines or vaccinations, and it's open, to all service members and veterans. So should be good.
From what I've heard, all these events are going really smoothly, and doing well. Morning, Troy.
Good morning. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
It's Friday. I'm doing good. I got my vaccine scheduled for tomorrow, so I go to the library, get my vaccine. I'm excited. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Yeah, I was looking at the agenda and this item in regards to asphalt arts.
Yep.
Who's working on that?
No one. We had kind of discussed it via email, and it's a grant. It's a $25,000 grant that I kind of wanted to apply for. And I don't know if you read the response for Public Works, but it seemed kind of like a blow off to me.
Well,
I wondered who that was from.
Did it feel like a blow off to you?
A little bit.
What are you thinking, Troy?
Well, I think there's some ideas there, and also spins off on something that we were thinking about doing, not necessarily permanent art, but we're looking at the world's longest chalk art. And we did get a grant for that, and we just needed artists to help us get it done.
Cool.
We've already registered with Guinness and all that good stuff, but also I think there's some places in for our parks that we can put art into, and we'd be happy to have that opportunity to work with them on this as well. So,
all right.
Troy, do you need to be connected with artists in town? Are you guys putting out a call?
We will be. Yeah.
Okay. When that goes out, let me know, because I've got a big list I'll send it out to.
Okay.
Oh yeah, Shannon can give you the hookup.
I have a couple other art projects that I want to do. One that's something with the Knight Foundation. We wanted to recognize the Knight Foundation and the Knight history with all the newspaper locations and all the different sites across the country. that we're connected to. So we wanted to come up with something to do that in one of our parks.
That would be cool.
All right, guys, we're about 5 minutes in. Let's go ahead and get started. Thanks everyone for being here. I want to first just close my door. Oh, like Jan just came in. Like, what did I do? Okay. Want to start off by just saying that in the current phase of the COVID vaccines, although it seems kind of confusing, pretty much everyone in the service sector or who sells anything, pretty much folks who work around people who can't social distance very well, all those folks now are eligible for the vaccine. And I think it's tough to really kind of understand the way the phases were laid out. I've had a lot of questions, but come through with it. It's easiest to think, I think, of phase 2 as slowing down the spread. Those folks who are most likely to die of the coronavirus or have to face coronavirus every single day. That's really phase 1 that bled a little bit into phase 2. Phase 2 is about bartenders, people who work at restaurants, people who, Sarah and her employees who are in a place where they are in contact with people. And I think we have to work to somewhat make sure that the narrative shifts from, well, I don't want to shop because I want it to go to someone who needs it more. All the folks who have a high risk of catching this or a high risk of age-wise of dying from this or occupying a hospital for this already have been offered a shot. And for us to get through the next phases, they have a projection of what phase 2 and phase 3, how many people are in there. The quicker we get through those phases, the quicker they get to these other phases. So I just wanted to try to reach out to folks and encourage them to encourage other folks to get their vaccine, because it's not really so much. And I had to go through this with my wife, where she's like, I think I'd be okay if I caught COVID. I think that, I feel guilty. And she works at our church, and, and my discussion was, it's not really about you catching it. It's about you passing this on to our priest. It's about you passing it on to other people. So I saw that Harkey's got theirs on social, on the socials on Facebook. Andrew, I reached out to the Restaurant Association. It's probably not their full name, but you know what I mean, right? Like, I think you're involved with those guys, and asked them to shoot out an email. But
they did.
Okay, good. I don't know if there's any other suggestions on groups or anybody I should kind of reach out to and try to encourage. But phase 3 and phase 4 will start Monday. A lot of discussion about phase 3 has been about folks who have pre-existing health conditions, and why aren't they included in phase 2? And there's a lot of really interesting debate and discussion on that. I think that it's obviously legitimate as well. I think that they're going to start that on Monday, so I think a lot of that debate's going to kind of stop. I do want to just kind of reframe phase 2 is about stopping a spread. If you had a pre-existing health condition and was likely to catch the coronavirus or spread it, you're in phase 2. If you have a health condition and you're able to work from home and social distance, then yes, they put you out a couple weeks because they want to make sure that they could get a hold of the spread. That is different than other counties, because you can go 20 miles south and go get a shot right now, I think. And that's because other counties, they're smaller populations. They didn't do a more strategic rollout like Shuttered County has, where they want to save lives first, but then also control the spread. Our spread numbers are down under 3%, which is amazing. Last time they were like this was in June of last year. And then they start opening up to everyone else. And that's what they're doing. Like I said, this week, they're just really, the supply chain has really increased. So if there's any, and I tell you this, get with me after, shoot me an email if there's any association or groups that you guys think I should reach out to try to see if they can shoot out an email to their members, but also within our own circles, let's try to encourage folks who would like a vaccine to make sure that they know it's available. And the very last thing before I get off this topic, we approach the Shuttered County list. if you are in one of these categories, you want to approach that list as if they will weed you out if you shouldn't be in line. I think there's people who kind of talk themselves out of thinking that they, like I had an artist reach out to me on Twitter and ask about the vaccine and like, well, do you work around people? And this person said, yeah, I sell art. I go to art shows. I do this and that. And it's like, okay, yeah, you're in a category of other and retail sales. Like that person might not know that they're in that category, but that's the category they're in, even if they don't really identify or talk about their work that way. So when you go online, they will actually have questions that are designed to weed you out and then ask you to present documentation. If you can present that documentation, it's legitimate documentation, and those questions you answered truthfully, then you should be in line for a shot. But I think that a lot of people, we try to kind of talk ourselves out where I don't really work in retail. I'm an artist who sells my art. And that's like, I get that, but it's a different frame that I think the website is putting out there than what some people might consider is their frame. And we gotta, I think, be a little more open-minded with it if we want to really get back to normal as quick as possible. Last thing I'll say just real quick is you guys were all invited to the State of the City next week. We're going to have one of those, like a real city, and it's going to be great. It's a small, it's kind of a small event. We are hosting it at Botanica. We're going to have, it's going to be outdoors. We're making it kind of a more small, intimate event on purpose, obviously, because of COVID. And we're inviting folks in the medical community to be there as a kind of a thank you. We got some stuff planned for them. And those are folks who should all be vaccinated as well. So we're trying to lower the risk of any concerns, I guess, with this, and also still, have a event that is worthy of a city of our size. So I think Janet has invited all you guys to that as folks who have been serving in this role for months now. So just, you see that's what it is. And I want you all to know that we are not going to be crammed inside a small room together. All right, cool. Let's, yes.
Can I make a quick comment going back to the vaccine rollout? Some feedback that I've gotten. I've heard from a number of our employees and just contacts. People are concerned about the cost of it. People aren't aware that it is free. So I'm trying to relay that information. So maybe in any marketing stuff that anybody does concerning it, I think that would be really helpful to really stress that nobody's going to have to pay for this. So I've heard come up.
Especially those without insurance.
Yeah, and especially, like a lot of people in the service sector don't have insurance. And so they're going to be concerned on how are they going to cover it. So that's something I've found that it's on my end, I'm trying to stress.
No, and I got to compliment you guys too. I mean, so there's a couple things that the Harkeys did that I think we should kind of take note of. First, let folks know if you go to a private place to get the vaccine, and that's, I think, what the Harkeys did, because it looked like you were at a pharmacy or something. I don't know that for sure. I don't follow you guys, but it looked different than a library, right? You can go to either place, the library or any type of county health distributors, 100% free, no concerns at all. Any like Walgreens or Dillon's pharmacy, they might charge an administrative fee, which means like they pay the person $10 to give you the shot because they have to pay that person an hourly wage or whatever, but they can't deny you the shot because they'll send you a bill. So it's up to them to do that. So it is free. Or some places that if they charge any type of fee, it's going to be small and they won't deny the shot for that. Also, the Harkeys put out something I thought was just amazing. Some of that documentation. So the message that I've seen so far is if you go to a pharmacy, it's less questions, less documentation required. Like they're still in phase 2, they're still in the phase, but it's a little less. It seems less restrictive. Some people are just going because it's easier. When you go to the county, they're going to ask for like a check stub. Like show us, like they told Chelsea, like show us that you work for the church. And so she showed up with a check stub that showed she's paid to work for our church. Some folks in the service sector might not have a check stub because they've been out of work for a while. because they need this shot so they can get back to work, right? Like, so the hierarchy's actually put out something, if you need verification that you work for us, let us know. And I thought that's awesome, because that also counts. Like, they're looking for reasons to give people the vaccine, not reasons to deny people the vaccine. And so if you might not have a check stub because you haven't been working and but your employer wants you to come back or have the opportunity to come back, giving them a quick write-up or a letter saying, yes, this person works in the sector, they work for us, or they did work for us, and we might need them back. That's going to allow them to get that vaccine. So some of you might want to offer that to employees who might not currently be working, but might be in a little bit.
Yeah, and there's just form letters online that I found, and I just printed it on letterhead, and that seems to be working. So that's what I've been sending out to all my people.
Excellent. All right, well, we'll jump. Anything else on this topic real quick before we jump into the agenda? Sorry for taking up about 10 minutes. All right, cool. So we got oh my goodness. Janet already put down vaccines mayor for like number 3, and I didn't even see it. So like I just completely did like number 3 on the agenda, and I apologize. All right, so we'll just knock that one off then. We're going to today we're going to talk to Wayne Bell about really what's happening at the federal level and different information that we can get out to our networks. And we also got Troy Houtman on from the Parks and Recs Department, who's going to talk about event planning downtown Wichita. It looks like we have a chance of getting somewhat back to normal. And we've been talking a lot about how do we kind of open up downtown more and make it better than it was, really, as far as services provided. And then we have Jan's going to talk about an art grant opportunity and was some housekeeping about next round of appointments for those who can't continue. Then then we can appoint someone else. All right. So before we do that, let's approve the minutes from March 5th. Is there any discussion on the minutes? All right. If not, I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve them. Is there a second? Second was by Shannon. Ms. Boom. All right. There's no discussion on that. Then all in favor of approving the minutes, please give a thumbs up or say aye.
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 All opposed, same sign. The ayes have it. I just gave my vaccine update, so we'll just go right into COVID relief with updates with Mr. Bell.
All right. Good morning. Good morning, everyone. And good morning, Mayor Whipple. I will definitely be at your address, to the city, state of the city, next week. So looking forward to that. Wanted to just tell everyone that earlier this week, or actually at the end of last week, we had the American Rescue Plan that was approved. And what it did was it provided a number of other or additional resources to the SBA, to everyone in general who, all businesses and nonprofits that have been impacted by COVID-19. And in short, just want to tell everyone what that, I guess at a high level, what that means is that we've got some additional funding to continue to support the Paycheck Protection Program. The applications for the Paycheck Protection Program, the previous deadline was March 31st. As a part of the legislation that was just approved, that's been extended out now through, I believe, the end of May. And then also, I think for forgiveness and what have you, it's actually going to go out through June. So we've got a little time, but I would encourage anyone that has not applied for a PPP loan, either the first or the second draw, to either reach out to the SBA directly, and you can contact our local office, find us at sba.gov, or work with your lender to get those applications submitted. And we've been working very closely with the lending community. And I think for the most part, things have been going fairly smooth. There have been some issues in terms of the loan forgiveness applications, but that's been more of a system problem. There are a number of hold codes that lenders are encountering, and anyway, the agency on the back end, we're kind of working through the programming problems with our IT folks, and they're trying to get that streamlined. In addition to that, the long-awaited Shuttered Venue Operators Grant, that program is going to be made available here pretty quick. I think I heard earlier this week that just after the PPP deadline of March 31st, that the applications are going to be able to, the portal for applications for that grant is going to go live. And so it should be right after our March 31st date, we should start to see that portal open up. And I would welcome any comments or any other information that Adam or Jesse may have, the Hardkeys that they may have from their standpoint about that particular program. And go ahead.
That's it, Wayne. I think y'all released a document last night, a new PPP application for venues to use that doesn't have the checkbox that requires you to check it to say that you won't be applying for SVOG as well. So that was removed, and that's very much appreciated. And then I heard there's an announcement coming at 11 Eastern about the rollout of the applications. So, but we're hearing the same thing. I think. Okay. I think we're all just gearing up and getting ready. Okay. Good deal.
And, let's just continue to stay in close communication. I appreciate all that you guys are doing. And if you have questions about something, reach out to me, and likewise. And we'll plan as soon as that goes live. Here's kind of the agency standpoint on it. And I think it's helpful for this group to understand this. So because it's a grant, what we're being told by our legal folks, they really are asking us not to give counsel on eligibility determinations. They really want our resource partners, such as the small business development centers, SCORE, women's business centers. They want those groups to work with applicants who may have those specific questions about whether or not they're eligible or not, and are asking that SBA personnel not get into those conversations. What we can do is, we can certainly cover the information at a high level in a webinar, that sort of thing. So we'll be doing a number of those kinds of things. But when it gets down to eligibility determinations, they're asking us to kind of stay out of those discussions because it's a grant. So, but anyway, we'll continue to stay in close communication, and we'll be doing some information sessions for the public here pretty quick. Final thing, Mayor, that I just wanted to announce with this, there's also a program that's coming up for the restaurant industry, and I'm looking forward. So this legislation, the American Rescue Plan, provided $28 billion for a new grant program to support small restaurants and other food and drinking establishments. So we're going to have more information on that. That one is not as far along as the Shuttered Venue Operators Grant. So I would anticipate the restaurant program maybe being available in the next, I'd say, 30 to 60 days. But the Shuttered Venue Operators Grant, that's going to be available here very quickly. And that's all I have at the moment.
Happens to the best of us, right? I feel like my parents every time I do something like that. So that's great. We'll get that information out hopefully as quick as possible. Andrew, is that something that you guys are on top of as well? Can we kind of tap you for some information on that as that moves forward?
I mean, I don't have the finals. I know that the Restaurant Association wrote the law, and then it was adopted. In fact, I think they got more than they asked for in a lot of ways. If you really break down from what the preliminary information that was given out in like the info sheets was different than actually what Congress signed, and so which was better. If anybody was calculating this back in the day, like back in December or whenever they were thinking this, it was something like you take your 2019 minus your 2020 revenues, subtract out, of course, your PPP, and they also included like any other grant and stimulus money that you got, and something else, some other factor that was in there. And so like businesses like ours that took advantage of the EIDL and the other ones were able to get a little bit more money. It was great. But then the way it's written today, it's about 5 times that amount of money. It's really good if it comes out the way it says, but I just don't believe it's going to be as good. So I don't know. We'll see. But you know, in about 17 or 18 weeks when we run out of the other money, I'll be hoping to know more about it by then if we need it. So
I would anticipate, Andrew, that somewhere here, you know, maybe inside of 60 days, you know, somewhere in there, we should have the details should be pretty close, and hopefully it goes live within that period.
I had thought that it said that SBA had 15 days to get it wrapped up and turned on, according to like what I read in the Congress bill. So maybe I misunderstood what portion needed to be done in 15 days, but either way, we'll be okay.
Okay.
My concern, and maybe Wayne can speak to this, is just that 28 billion is going to go pretty quickly.
Well, I'll tell you,
for restaurants, for the restaurant industry.
Yeah, I'll tell you, Brooke, I'm not sure, you know, with as many resources that have been made available, you know, through the Paycheck Protection Program, EIDL, and then the other debt relief that's at play with our loans, our normal programming, you know, so by the way, for everybody's information, under our normal loans, SBA is covering principal and interest for 3 to 6 months. So with the combination of those things that are at play right now, Brooke, I think 28 million is going to be an amount that at least sustains, or at least is able to be leveraged, you know, for several months, if not a year. I mean, it could go. You'd be surprised, because we've had so much activity with the Paycheck Protection Program, and by the way, I think gradually our economy is coming back. You know, as the vaccines continue to get dispersed and the public takes advantage of it, I think, you know, 3-6 months from now, we could be in a much better position.
Good. Let's stay on top of it, though. I'm wondering, because it sounds like it might be more of a mix. I mean, it sounds like, you know, if you consider the mix that's available, then it might be better than I think how Brooke sees it. But also let's figure out the best way to make sure Wichita's I try to just smush 2 words together. Wichitans, small business owners, know what's required so that we can get the biggest piece of the pie, right? Like if we pretty much respond as if this is going to run out and get all the ducks in a row, our folks, by helping people out in the industry, our folks will likely, if it does run out, be, you know, not the ones who are missing out. So yeah, let's stay on it. I know that Andrew and Brooke work in this space, and of course Wayne works in this space as well. Let's see what we need to do, and then try to figure out what's the best way to get that message out. Go ahead, Andrew. I'm sorry.
It's okay. I just I thought of 2 things. One, Brooke, to kind of tackle the question you posed, which is a really good question. There are restrictions on this money that make a lot of businesses ineligible. Ones that's gobbled up tens of millions of dollars in the very first loans that ended up having to give it back. Like, you know, fast food restaurants that actually made money don't qualify for this. You know, if your 2019 numbers are, you know, really good, and your 2020 or better, you're not going to get it. So there's a lot of businesses that have actually made money last year because of all of ours that shuttered. And so that's the first thing. And so the other thing that we want to pay attention to, that's really, I'd say, a more important thing for Wichita, and Wayne, you know, we got to work with you and the other groups of people that get into the community. But there's $500 million, I believe, of that money that's earmarked for advantaged or disadvantaged groups and business operators that are small businesses, that are people of color, that they get the first crack at it. I think it's like 2 weeks or 2 or 3 weeks of the first rounds of this go only to those groups. And that would be the first place I'd see us really losing big time in Wichita, is if we don't support those disadvantaged businesses. So like, keep your ears open for them first, because we're the most informed, I think, and there's a reason why they put that money out there. And so this group could maybe help get into those communities better, faster.
Yeah, and let's think about, maybe talk offline about, the only superpower that the mayor has is really, I can call places and they pick up the phone, right? I can ask favors. Are there, if we get the information that needs to get out together, like, are there places I should call that could help? Hey, Wayne Bell prepared this document. Can you get it out to your members? Like the African American Chamber, the Hispanic Chamber. Like, is there ways, if there's a state level, if there's a publication that maybe I could talk to someone, like, I'm open to advice on this. What's the best way to try to make sure this information gets out? Because people have it's easy to get stuck in a bubble. Like, people have like real lives, right? Like, they're not exposed to the same information all of us are. And one of the problems, particularly Democrats fall into, to be quite honest, is a bill gets passed and they don't promote it. No one knows what's in it. And then it doesn't do the good that it should have done. And then, and that's going to give me to my next point I'm about to just chat about real quick. So I think getting the information out is going to be important. But the other thing that's in this COVID relief package, and just kind of, I guess, piggyback on something that Jesse said, is when it comes to healthcare, the Affordable Care Act and the portal, for the last few years, these subsidies that allow affordability of private health insurance hasn't been budgeted for in the process. So what that means is, early on in the Affordable Care Act's life, my dad, who's in that kind of gap group between works for himself, makes a certain amount of money, doesn't have insurance, but not old enough yet for Medicaid. It was in that weird gap. He got online. The subsidies at the time made it so he could buy health insurance, and it costs like $30 a month. And it was good health insurance, right? And it's not a government health insurance run program. It's subsidies to help you afford Blue Cross Blue Shield or these other type of programs. Then we had different control of Congress, and those subsidies actually wound up not getting funded. Those subsidies go right to the insurance company. So now the same plan would have cost normal people hundreds of dollars a month, and it made it unaffordable again. In the COVID relief package, they added to those subsidies, and I think even added more. So now folks in my circle who haven't had health insurance have told me that they're on plans right now for $10 a month, that they have really good health insurance coming because of those subsidies, which is germane to getting us out of the pandemic, right? You need health insurance to stay healthy. So they slapped it in that bill. It's something worth looking into for folks who might not have health insurance right now, who do work in the service sector or are doing some part-time stuff right now as the economy bounces back. There is very affordable private health insurance through healthcare.gov, and those prices are going to be much lower than they were a few months ago. And so it's going to be, I think it's important to kind of talk about, because someone probably looked at that, last year when they were losing their health insurance, and the prices would have been too expensive. So I think when we talk about, we have to mention it was part of the COVID relief package, and they put a ton of money in it. So it's going to be really affordable now. Also, they're doing something with COBRA as well, where I think they're paying 100% of COBRA, but I don't know enough about that. But there's opportunities for health insurance now as part of this that will help employees, that we should be talking about as well, as talking about, I think, the stuff that's helping employers get back on their feet. So just want to throw that out there. All right, let's get Troy in here to talk about, or any other discussion on the COVID relief updates. Cool. All right, Troy is going to talk about downtown event planning. This is a continuation of the discussion we've been chatting about when it comes to bringing back, I think, business to downtown, but also kind of expanding on the open air ICT concepts and getting more, different atmosphere once we get through this. So Troy, welcome.
Good morning, everybody. Good to see all these smiling, happy faces. I recognize a lot of them. And just sitting here, that first half of this meeting, I've learned a lot. So I'm glad to be part of this meeting today. So we're pretty excited that things are looking a little bit brighter as we're going through the tunnel. Paying much attention to the county health department's numbers. Yesterday, the positivity rate was down to 2.6, maybe just a little bit below that, and it's been really steady right underneath that. So we're so excited because it's having an impact on all of our programming, golf courses, you name it. So that's something we've been paying much attention to. And then the percentage of vaccinations, I think we're getting really close to about 20% for the county and probably across the state as well. All these things you guys are talking about, just the vaccine, I think, is going to be rolling in pretty strong in April and May. And I think that percentage rate is going to get up pretty high. So we're pretty excited about that. We are going to be basing all of our events, and I think what the city is going to be approving and basing on for events is going to be on those two items. Working with the health department, the county health department is going to give us a lot of guidance in regards to when are we ready to hit the green light on doing some events, larger events. We're already doing some events already, as long as people are social distancing and it's within the guidelines of what the county is putting out, but they're all pretty small. We've done a few things over at NAFSCA Park, and we've done a few things at some of our other rec centers and other park areas. But I think there's a lot of pent up demand, and we're going to see a lot of people really interested in doing some fun things. We've already started looking at scheduling a lot of running races, and it seems like everything is really being scheduled off for the fall. There's always a really tough time in regards to planning. There's this lag time and not knowing what's going to happen in June and July. A lot of things are really kind of kicking off in August, September, and October. So for example, Riverfest, they're splitting their program. They're doing a few smaller things in June just to keep that date and make sure that people will still have Riverfest in mind. But actually in October, that first weekend of October, they're going to actually be hosting some larger events. We're looking at Open Streets. We're going to kick that off on September 19th if things look good. So we're putting that on the schedule. The Chili Cook-Off is the following weekend on Saturday, September 25th. And so right there's 3 weekends in a row of some really big things happening. We're also hoping, I have a meeting on Monday with the health department with Adrian and see if the 4th of July is too soon. We typically have 4th of July fireworks down by the stadium, and obviously we didn't do that last year, so we're ready to do that. And if we can do it, we're going to see if we can make that happen. So that might be one of the bigger things that happen towards the middle of the summer. So those are some of the things that we have going on. NAFSCA Park is going to be, last weekend was the 1-year anniversary of opening up NAFSCA Park, and we opened it up for 1 day. The following day, we closed everything down. So we're so excited that things are starting to move forward because we want to do a lot more in NAFSCA Park. Our partnership with the Wave is something that we haven't had a chance to really explore, but we are getting a lot of calls. A lot of folks want to rent it out, want to use it. Probably some smaller events, magic shows and some kids plays and all kinds of fun stuff like that. So I think there's the demand, and we can definitely work on some of that stuff. We also want to start looking beyond this year and next year. Next year at this time, we'll be hosting NCAA. And I think it's the women's that we'll be hosting next year. We would have been hosting the NCAA this year, the big men's, but obviously that's all going to be in Indianapolis. It already started. So looking for ideas, looking for vision for downtown events, probably more so for next year. So yeah, we just want to keep that dialogue going and want it available to any group that wants to do something great. I think you guys had some specific questions in regards to alcohol, so I'm not sure what those questions were, but if there's any other questions, let me know.
Questions for Troy. And don't worry about asking him hard questions. He can't hurt him any more than he already is. If you can't see the sling. Anyways,
What did you do to yourself, Troy?
I had rotator cuff surgery 5 weeks ago, and I'm starting PT next week. So hopefully I could get rid of this sling in the next week or 2 or 3.
Good luck.
That's not quite the rumors that we've been saying about it, but there's conflicting stories.
Hey Troy, hope your recovery goes quick. You just reminded me of something. So I'm in Indianapolis this morning. My son, Xavier Bell, for everybody's info, my son plays for Drexel University. He's a freshman at Drexel University. They play this afternoon, 12:15 Central, 1:15 Eastern. And so, we're here right in the middle of March Madness, and just wanted to say that. So, I can't wait until we have that event in Wichita next year. Would be great. But today, I'm hoping that everybody will say "Go Dragons," Drexel Dragons. So, anyway, thanks.
That's huge.
We'll keep an eye on that. And we were so excited to get the NCAA, and the first time we had it a couple years ago went so great, went really smoothly. And now that we have NASCAR Park and we have a little bit more infrastructure downtown, we have a little bit more coordination and experience, we know that we're going to host it big and bad, and it's going to be a great event next time it comes back here. So maybe your son will actually be able to play a game here. That would be awesome.
That's awesome. Congrats, Wayne, for being out there. And I saw the update, the picture, and I thought, is that his kid? But you look you look too young to have a kid in college. So I don't know. But that's pretty awesome.
Thank you.
So
Andrew,
just go ahead.
Andrew, I just want to make sure you're ready for open streets.
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, we're there. We can't move our building, so.
But we'll be going right in front of your building, so hopefully that will be a fun day.
It's always a fun day.
Good.
So, and I don't want to be a downer, but we're keeping an eye on some legislation that's made its way through the legislature in Kansas that if it gets passed, it might actually put us in jeopardy of attracting and retaining events like the NCAA. So we need to somewhat, as a community, stay a little vigilant on legislation that would likely have an economic impact on us being able to attract the NCAA or teams flying into Wichita from particular states in which this legislation could make it so they can't come here. So there's some stuff happening. I don't know how far it's going to go, but hopefully we can avoid, I guess, Topeka getting away with our economic development.
Well, I mean, that's going to be a real issue. Those are very conservative lines that are drawn, and you're dancing around it a little bit. Maybe you should explain what that is, so the rest of us that don't know knows what it is. You know? Are you willing
I do. Don't test me. Don't tempt me. Did it? You know I don't have a filter. There is in the legislation I'm referring to. It's a Senate bill. It did get out of the Senate. It still has to go through the House. I'm not quite sure if it's more political or if they actually want to try to pursue it as a law, at which point I'm sure the governor will veto it, and then it's a showdown. It is a bill to have the state regulate really sports for kids, in which women athletes will have to undergo genital inspections to ensure that a athlete who is transitioning will not be able to compete within like a 7th grade soccer tournament. And the athletic associations already have policies for transgender students. So it's really, and the concern that like women can't compete against men, and it's really, the facts don't line up where that's like there's any issues. This hasn't been a reported problem. This is a bill that was inspired by a national political think tank, and it's identical to other bills in other states. It's not something that generated locally or from the city. Again, like it's to have this conversation about transgendered youth, and what I guess to spark somewhat of a conversation about that more culturally, I think is what my political spider senses tell me. However, when you get into the policy of it, it's, from my understanding, and this is what I think is disgusting. The whole thing's disgusting. Discrimination is disgusting, by the way. Like, let me just go ahead and point that out. But it also doesn't really dictate how are you going to do these genital inspections on little girls who want to play soccer. It leaves it up to the association, which also gives me great concern as a former national athlete with the Amateur Athletic Union for Olympic style Taekwondo. I at one point was training for the Olympics, right? Like, the referee would grab my arms and my legs and to see if I had the right equipment on. They would inspect my, with their hand and inspect my arms and my chest gear and my helmet. So is there going to ever be a situation where to do an inspection, it will be a referee who grabs a child? Or are we going to ask chiropractors who do $20 physicals that are appropriate for getting into high school sports, or to say that you're fit for junior high sports? So we're going to now ask them to be OBGYNs. Like, what is it going to be the coaches? Like, what's going to happen when teams come in from out as, if we were able to land a national championship or a national game, are these little girls going to have to line up and be inspected? Like, it's just a lot of, like, it just seems like a really bad idea, but also like really kind of gross policy. I'm not sure how that would play out, but I do know that states that have passed stuff like this before have lost NCAA tournaments, have absolutely lost, have lost opportunities for stuff like the NCAA, economic opportunities. And frankly, my job is a lot easier. And this is like Andrew pushed me to this, by the way, to say stuff like this. But my job is a lot easier trying to attract coastal businesses like Nova Coast, who's in London, who's in New York, who's in California, and now in Wichita. My job is a lot easier when we don't make national news for passing bills like this. Like, it's tough for me to attract industries and also young talent here when we have, is that the place that this is happening? When the AP goes out with these type of bills. But anyways, that's what's happening. It did make it out of the Senate. I don't know how far it's going to go, but I do know if it passes, we will likely lose. We will likely be embarrassed nationally, and we will lose economic opportunities.
And it's important to point out there are other states that exist that make it illegal for them to send state-funded schools into states like Kansas to compete in the tournament. So you've heard of California teams being forced to back out of tournaments in places that pass these laws. So it's already affecting states, but it's not necessarily because of what we did. It's because of what their states regulate. So it's already there. It's been there.
But it's real. I think at one point, there were tournaments. We have a technical loophole in our policy when it comes to adopting children, where the state doesn't discriminate, but we could contract with a organization that does, based on faith, discriminate against same-sex couples, and thus those same-sex couples might not be able to adopt a child. There's we have a bill in the books that has language like that caused, I think one of the times when we had a tournament over in, I think it was Northeast area, it caused the California teams and other teams to have to fly into Missouri and then drive down here. If we want to compete with Johnson County, on, like, let's say we were able to retain some of these type of tournaments, passing legislation like this. They say, okay, we'll go to Kansas. No one's going to fly into Missouri because their state legislature refuses to allow them to fly into Wichita, giving our state level policies, and then drive 3 hours down to Wichita. Like, we would just be out of the running instead of flying into a brand new modern airport. So, if we've seen it already. It's worrisome already, but Andrew's exactly right. Our economic development person is from Arizona. They passed some laws similar to this, and he's just flat out told me about all the economic stuff they lost when I was expressing this. He's like, yeah, I'm from Arizona. Let me tell you what happened there. We had all this stuff lined up, NCAA tournaments, all this stuff, and it was all gone, like overnight. Just so, anyways, I wasn't going to go off on this, but it bothers me, and I'm trying to just not take it too far because I think that it might be dead, and I don't want to kind of poke it and see it come alive as a debate on the House side. So,
all right,
it's
so
a real threat.
Bring it back to this group. How could this group help? We could talk about the rights of kids, and that's like probably the root of our feelings for this is. But if we're business operators, how is this going to impact my business? Might be a way to connect with a politician who really doesn't care about women's rights and girls' rights, but they care about business owners. I do know that they listen to us. So, we use that.
And I'm gonna ahead of myself. I'm gonna talk about this. Okay. There is a couple things going on. First, we have to. I think the title of the bill is one thing. People gravitate towards the title, and the title of the bill it's about discrimination. But there's a huge economic part of this as well. And there are some people I think shy away from that conversation about transgendered children playing soccer like on a team. Like, I think they shy away from that. But it's when you talk about numbers, when you talk about spreadsheets, there are some people I think are more comfortable talking about that. We're like, listen, I don't think a lot about this discriminatory part. I don't really care about arguing that publicly, but you really are affecting our business. Like, I think that there are folks who are in positions of influence and authority who are more comfortable having those conversations, and those conversations are better coming from you than it is from someone like me. I think because you're a business owner, and I'm just a government employee. So I think there is something there. Also, one of the things that I would like to talk to this group about moving forward is I have some proposals for LGBTQ protections in Wichita, and which ultimately are, I believe, good for business. All the research shows that it's good for business. All of our major employers already have internal policies that protect LGBTQ individuals from being bullied, from being fired for that, from a lot of the harassment that this community might face. If we want to attract and retain top talent, I think that we should take a page out of the private sector and start doing the same. Topeka already did this as a city. Manhattan has done this as a city, and I want to start looking towards policy that will put us matching the values of really the top talent who we want to attract here. So that's what I mean by getting ahead of it. I'm utilizing Topeka as somewhat of a their ordinance as somewhat of a template, and already have our legal drafting potential legislation, and I might need some help on getting the votes for that. But on a local level, it'll be, and also I want to talk to some other, it's going to be another conversation. I would like to talk to other lines of discrimination too, where I want to add veterans in on this as well. I would love other folks who have faced discrimination in the workforce to be able to try to help me make sure that the legislation's strong. But that's jumping ahead. I plan on doing some stuff like that as well. I already got that in the works, but I'm going to go out for public feedback in the very near future for that.
Mayor Whipple. So yesterday, yes. I was reviewing the bill. I was having a conversation with the Kansas Parks and Rec Association because obviously we were concerned about this. And that bill is actually really targeted towards CASHA in regards to junior high and high school organized sports, not necessarily in recreation leagues and smaller leagues that are through Parks and Recreation. So that gave me a little bit of relief and solace. But what happens at the high school level, years down, it tends to trickle down. But right now, for our purpose, what I was really worried about was how is that going to affect our Parks and Recreation Department and our athletic leagues, and it's not going to impact us. More so, like I said, it's going to really impact the high school level of sports because they want to regulate it through the Kansas Athletic Association. So,
yeah, and that's, I think, their first step forward. In my experience as a legislator, is usually, it's usually a strategic approach. But yeah, adding us into it means now you have to fight us now. But that doesn't mean they won't once they kind of take that first step. So I don't know. I'm concerned about it. I think we all should be concerned about it for multiple reasons. Not just the practicality of how it affects us here, but also the image, the real economic impact as well that's going to have on business owners. But I do think that there are some things we could be doing that will help us attract and retain folks, and that stuff is already being done with our largest employers in Wichita, and frankly, I don't want an embarrassing story to come out because something happened here in Wichita. Someone got fired because of someone they legally married, and that makes the AP. And now talks that are happening in the background to bring companies here, which we are having talks to bring companies here, companies that are great, like in industries that we're targeting, they now pull out because someone did something that's atrocious, and then we found out that there's nothing says that they can't do that. So that's I think a serious concern. So, anyways, another conversation though. Hopefully, but
I'd like to just put into you were saying, moving forward, the city would like to do something with legislation. Hopefully, if you would like, just somebody in the private sector, we would love to help out with that. I'm working right now on creating a DEI initiative to implement before we reopen. So that's something I've really been concerned about as of lately, and I'd love to do anything I can to help propel our city into being more inclusive. So,
awesome. I'm going to need help on it, to be honest, because it's truly not just good human rights policy; it's good economic policy, and I think that I'm seen more as a partisan when we talk about these issues, because some folks the only exposure to this type of legislation is in a partisan arena. The reality is this is also economic, and it's also, so small businesses being able to talk about this. I don't think people realize our largest employers already have some of these protections. There's a huge body of work out there about how you want to grow economically, you need to match the values of the people you're trying to attract, which these values are generational, they're not political. Yes, I would love to work with you as well on this and really kind of gain the support of not just this committee, but the business community, because that is going to help me get the votes I need. There are people in the council who, believe it or not, don't like me, but they like the Harkeys, but they like Andrew, but they like Sarah. So emails from you guys are going to go a little further. So yes, I will be hoping to run this through this committee, just get the support, and I can say that once we start working towards votes. And the only way I get anything done is getting public support. So I would hope that that could also extend to a few emails and maybe even folks willing to speak to it. All right, anything else? Let's.
Can I jump in with a question for Troy?
Sure. Yes, sure.
I'm curious in terms of the open air ICT permits. We would like to, at my restaurant, be able to put tables out on city property, but serve alcohol. And so I'm trying to figure out how to make that happen with permits. And I was wondering if you could speak to that.
So I can speak directly in regards to my events, but I'm not so familiar with the Open Air Act in regards to spilling out onto the sidewalks with alcohol. That's one area I don't know anything about. But you know what? Let me find some things out, and maybe I'll try to get back to you next week.
Yeah, Jansen might be the guy to talk to you about that, I think. And Jan's on a call too, and she knows everything, so we can figure that out. But I think that, and we should have that conversation if we kind of rope off an area, and to make sure that you can serve alcohol. I mean, I think that's pretty reasonable. I don't know if there's any state thing getting in the way. Andrew, do you have any?
Yeah, I think the way your application is written, I believe you can add the inclusion of alcohol. The problem is that you have to, in order to legally do that, you have to actually get permission from the ABC to create an extension of premise. So it's no different than if you have your own property and we added our patio in the back of our building on our property, and we had to, make the changes. So we added the fence and the signage and all that, and then they extended the premise. No big deal. Took a piece of paper and submit the application, and in a day it was done. I think you can do the same with the state, but so there, being specifically on park property, that's a whole nother deal. But if it's just like onto the sidewalk, I think that the state's going to allow it as long as the city allows it. So, and I believe your application.
Andrew, do you know what application that was? Because right now I have the 816 application, but it's for special events.
I think you go back to the original application with the county or the state, sorry, with the alcohol. And it's, let me see if I can dig it up real fast for you, Brooke, and just verify it. But I'm pretty sure it's just the standard form. And then where you draw your perimeter, you just basically have to add the piece to it and sit it back in. The best thing you can do is call your rep, like Randy Whipple.
We did, and he gave us the special event.
Now, you just say a permanent extension of premise is what you want to do.
Yeah.
It's a different deal altogether.
I don't know. I mean, I think they gave us the special event because the plan was to use the alleyway that's just north of our building. So, but that seems like it's going to, I mean.
Brooke, was that a one-day event or?
Well, what we were thinking of doing was First Fridays. Mm-hmm. So it would be a monthly event through the summer.
That would not be
so, right. But if we had to, we could do the sidewalk instead of the alleyway. But there are lots of other businesses in Old Town and downtown that would like to also participate. So we're trying to figure out how we can simplify the permit process. Could we just do one blanket application that we submit to the city council and they go through? We're trying to figure that out.
Let's touch base after. Shoot me an email and I can bounce it around as well. To see if there's a way to, I guess, make that process more streamlined.
Right. I mean, you do have to submit. Basically, we have to get approval from the city first, and then that goes to the ABC, which is fine. I'm happy to go through that process, but it'd be ideal if we could submit a list of dates with a list of businesses that are participating, so that way, it's just one approval for everyone. But
yeah, no, I agree. And we got to keep moving forward on the simplification of these forms. I have had updated conversations and even kind of walk past conversations of folks in our economic development team talking about streamlining some of this stuff. It's something that we've been towards for a while. But it would be great if we could have a relationship with ABC in which
right. It's unfortunate that you want to do something like this and you have to talk to about 10 people to get some sort of answer. Because I haven't gotten a hard and fast answer on how to navigate this. And I have talked to, all the right people. So that's a little, I'm sure it's frustrating for them too, that they don't have the answers or the a plan for how to do this sort of thing. But luckily we are, Shannon contacted Emily over at the Downtown Association, and she's going to maybe help us with some of this permit process. So that's good. But yeah.
All right. All right, we're running late. We got some people who have to log off. Let's go ahead and get to Janet with the asphalt art grant. Go ahead, we can get that. And I think I'll have to go find Leslie afterwards and kind of give her an update. She just messaged that she was hanging on, trying to get that information. I think it's going to be important. So I want to get that out there for folks who also have to sign off.
We were discussing this at the beginning. I had sent the response that we received from Public Works, which felt maybe a little bit like not a high priority. So Troy said he had some ideas how we might be able to utilize that grant. I guess I just need to know from the group, what do you want to do now? Should we look for somewhere else? What is your desire?
Who's following this closely? I don't know if I know.
I am a little bit.
Okay.
There's a couple of ideas that people have thrown out there. They're all good ideas. The expanding, taking some of the core Delano ideas and expanding it through West Delano to kind of make it appear to be like the other area, to see what the future could look like for the design of that street was a really good idea. This has to be a city-led event, so us business owners can drive the idea, but when you read the grant, it has to come from the city. So if the city is not interested in looking at it, we're not going to get it, and that kind of sucks. If you go up and look at the examples they put on their website, they're amazing what they've done. We should absolutely, you got to go look at this stuff. And it doesn't have to be limited to one area. For example, I did look and see that there was some areas where the cities applied for, got the full 25 grand and even added more to it, and was able to hit multiple parts of town. So I approached the school across the street from our businesses to discuss ways that they could use their art program to help create, something like a better looking bus stop, because it's going to have to change in the future anyways. And that's why I asked Gary for information, because that's part of they're trying to think through how they do the bus depot right there on Douglas. But we want our sidewalks to be safe and our crosswalks to be safe, because we have teachers and students running across 3 or 4 times a day. And it's a nightmare. We're going to witness a car accident sometime. So I see both these projects could potentially benefit from this, but without the support of the city, we're not going to get anything.
So let's look. Consensus is technically defined as silence. Is there anyone who would have a problem with us looking, me and Janet looking into the city taking the lead on this, as far as saying, hey, we want this to be a city thing, and then handing it off to a business organization for implementation, and utilizing this group as our group wants us to look at this?
There needs to be a nonprofit group tied to it, so Delano Association, Neighborhood Association, USD 259 are 2 organizations that could take charge, but they requires the city to be involved. So
Yeah.
But everyone on this call, my Small Business Advisory Council, I can accurately say it is the consensus of the Small Business Council that we look towards taking the lead and teaming up with the Delano group for this grant.
Or whoever.
Or whoever.
Or both,
I was going to say, if Delano or 259, or if the scope of this is going to be bigger than that, the Wichita Creatives Group just filed for their 501c3 nonprofit, and I would
go.
Yeah, I'm super excited. That's the best thing to come out of this horrible year.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I'm so excited. There's a lot, but this definitely falls right into that mission, and I would be happy to help with that in any way.
I think it'd be great to have another group like that be kind of the quarterback for it, because if I know anything about neighborhood associations, they're very disorganized. Nobody wants to be a leader, which is understandable. And then the school system is so big and hard to navigate.
They have so many things that they're dealing with already, trying to throw
Yeah.
this in there. And wrangling, I love all of my artist people, but wrangling artists can sometimes be like trying to herd cats. So
That's public on TV. Good job.
I know. I love them all. I'm happy to help wrangle.
All right, let's look into that a little more then, and no one objected to me being able to talk about this as if this is an initiative that our group is interested in looking towards. So no objections, okay. And I will update Leslie with this information. Okay, so I know we're running a little late. We're usually about 15 minutes late, so I'm gonna try to wrap this up in the next 5 minutes. The member rotation continuation. So pretty much anyone who can't be on this group, please shoot me an email. And for the next 3 months, because I've only asked folks for 3 months, because we will have folks who just really 3 months is what they can serve. They have other responsibilities. I don't ask for. I just, even if I can only get you for 3 months to help out and provide your input, then I'm happy with that. But of course, everyone is welcome to stay on. If folks are dropping off, then I will, then no judgment if that happens. I will be asking also for any nominations for folks who, would add to this discussion. Normally, I have been using this group to target industries and folks who are really hit hardest with coronavirus, and we to help with like immediate policy discussion and decisions for problems that we're immediately facing. So just as we nominate folks who would be good voices to add to this, let's keep that in mind. Who will, as we bounce back as a city, as we bounce back as an economy, who's really, who else would we want at the table right now for at least 3 months? Are there people, are there industries, are there other folks that would really pretty much add to the discussion on the agenda that it looks like we're creating, which is, stuff like the art grant, trying to streamline applications, moving forward with kind of redesign and recreating how we create or how we utilize the experience of folks going downtown and in these other areas. So just want to kind of put that out there. And also I do plan on working on equality policy and that means across the board. That's not just folks in the LGBTQ community, but I also want to do some work, if possible. Is there anything we can be doing to try to shrink the wage gap between men and women? There are things we could be doing to women or young women who are educated are one of the top exports in the city of Wichita. Well, what are we doing wrong? So what can we be doing to address some of that? So as we kind of move forward with this policy, I'm looking for folks who can add to their perspectives to kind of like, what is the next Wichita we want to create? And how do we make sure that it works for everyone? So that's just dropping, I guess, that seed, I guess, and hopefully it'll grow into a great idea with folks on this call. But let me know if you can't stay on, let me know. And also let me know if you have any ideas of folks who we should be adding. Anything else? Cool. All right, next meeting is April 2nd, 2021. Let's stay in contact if anything comes up in the meantime that we need to address. Thanks everyone for being on. If there's nothing else, then I guess we'll make a motion to adjourn. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. All right, so the ayes have it. We are adjourned. I will see you guys next month. Take care.
Have a good weekend.
Thanks, you too.